Hey everybody. So we have some free agent news to talk about with a pretty notable signing, and that is that Pat Maroon has finally found a new home, and it's with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the Lightning have signed Pat Maroon to a one-year contract worth $900,000 for this upcoming 1920 season. And Patrick Maroon, after playing in his hometown St. Louis Blues last year and winning the Stanley Cup, is now off to another Stanley Cup contending team in the Tampa Bay Lightning. So this, to me, is a good move in a lot of ways for Tampa Bay. It's also an interesting move for one big reason, and that's that Braden Point still isn't signed. So Tampa Bay is a cap crunch team, as we all know. I've talked about them a lot this offseason in their salary cap situation. They are right up against it with money, and they're probably second or third best they're probably their third best forward is Braden Point at 23 years old, and he is not signed. He's still an RFA. He's going to command at least $9 million per year. And Tampa is going to struggle to put up that kind of money with their current cap situation, which right now they have $8.4 million in cap space available. So without making a trade and unloading some salary, which again I still think Tampa needs to do before the season starts, it's going to be really difficult for them to get Braden Point signed. And I think it's odd. I talked about this when they signed Kevin Shattenkirk. While I do think that these moves, signing Shattenkirk and signing Maroon, are helping the team and are good for the roster overall, it's interesting that they're spending money like this without having Braden Point signed. Because you would think that their top priority would be signing Braden Point. I mean, Kucherov is clearly their best player. Stamkos, I would say, is still number two, given how the 45-goal season he had last year. But Braden Point is number three in my mind. As far as their forward group goes and who is their best forwards, Braden Point is number three, only behind Kucherov and Stamkos. So, I mean, this is a very, very important player to this team, a 90-point player who's only 23 years old and is going to continue to get better. And I think in the very near future, maybe even this season, if he gets a contract, will be a 100-point player in the NHL. I mean, Braden Point is a superstar in the making. And Tampa doesn't have him signed yet. Not only do they not have him signed to a long-term deal, they don't have him signed at all. They don't even have a bridge deal in place here. So Braden Point remains unsigned while they're going out and spending money that they really don't have on guys like Pat Maroon and Kevin Shattenkirk. So from that standpoint, I think it's a little interesting that Tampa's spending money without having Point signed. However, Maybe they're starting to think that Point isn't going to be there at the start of the season, and they need to, turn their attention away from that and just focus on filling out the best team that they can. And in that case, I do think Pat Maroon is a very good signing for Tampa Bay. To be honest with you, I don't know why the last two summers it's taken so long for Pat Maroon to get signed. He's only 31 years old. It's not like he's 35 or 36. And he's a good player. I don't understand why it seems like nobody actually wants Pat Maroon and why it takes him so long to get signed in the offseason. He's a good player. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, he's a big, physical power forward who, really is a great presence in your bottom six to have on your third or fourth line. I mean, he throws his weight around. He's huge. He's not afraid of anyone physically. He fights. I mean, he drops the gloves regularly, or at least as regularly as you can in the modern NHL. You don't get a ton of fights over the course of the year anymore, but he's a guy who's more than willing to fight. He hits everything in sight. He's a big, powerful guy, and he can give you offense from your bottom six. He had 10 goals and 18 assists last year for 28 points with St. Louis. Another 3 goals and 4 assists in the playoffs. I mean, like, he produces offensively pretty well for a bottom six guy, for a third or fourth line guy. Now, is he going to come in and be, your second line wing or your first line wing and score 25 goals? No, not at all. But can you play him on the third line or on the fourth line and get 10 goals and 25 points out of him? Absolutely. So I don't understand why Patrick Maroon isn't more sought after when he's a free agent. But I think this, from a roster standpoint, this is a great signing for Tampa Bay. And they are adding something with him that they really needed, and that's that physical edge. I think that's been missing a little bit from Tampa Bay, especially, the last year for sure. And then now with Ryan Callahan gone, he had that physical, he wasn't a fighter, but he had that physical, gritty style of hard-working play that was good, but he struggled with injuries for the past few years and now is out of the league because of injury. But, I think adding Pat Maroon, adding that kind of player, that kind of physicality, that kind of grittiness into your bottom six is something that Tampa really needed. And from that standpoint, this is a very good signing. I'm just concerned that they're spending money, they're making these moves, and Braden Point still isn't signed. Tampa has got to get this Braden Point situation figured out because they are right up against it money-wise, and the more money they spend, the less money they have to spend on Braden Point. So that's just my thought, but I'm glad Pat Maroon got signed. I'm a huge Pat Maroon fan. I think he should be more sought after in free agency. I think he's a very good bottom six forward in the NHL and will add value to any team that he's on. And I think that type of player, that physical, gritty, big power forward type of player is exactly what Tampa Bay needed. I think he's going to help them a lot this year. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.